Hello, my name is Vanette, and I am here with a pastor who says she has been there and back. She's close enough to 70 years old that we will not disclose if it's before or after.
You better not.
Pastor has agreed to share some of her adult experiences, including changes in her life as an immigrant from Antigua. This interview is to be used for the Widener University Human Services Program, SW501, the older adult interview section only.
Yep.
Pastor, I have to ask you,
Go ahead.
as an immigrant, you migrated from the Caribbean country. How did that happen and how old were you?
Well, as in around in my 30s, how it happened, I come from a family of 13 children, and I needed to come to America because I wanted to be a doctor. And I made the decision that I was going to leave home, get away from all the screaming children, my siblings, and I positioned myself to get my travel visa to come here as a visitor, because to me that's the only way I could get into America, because I wanted to be a doctor.
So you're saying you came in here as a visitor and not a legal immigrant? How did that happen?
As a visitor, because when I came in through customs, even though I know I had to be here for a little while before I become a doctor, I had a job waiting for me with some wealthy Jews in Florida. And I came in, they picked me up at the airport on my visitor's visa because that was the trial time to see if they would accept me into their home with their children. And they liked me, so I ended up staying as their live-in housekeeper in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Well, based on what we have said before, you told me that you're a pastor, so you're not a doctor. So, what happened in between?
Oh, that's a whole long story. My Lord, my Lord, my Lord. Number one, when I came to America, I'll say truthfully, I was not prepared for America because I come from a Christian background in the West Indies. I came to America in a place where anything goes, people don't respect each other. I had to learn a whole different language. I had to learn the money. It was just a culture shock for me because I come from a place where everybody know everybody. Everybody say good morning, please and thank you. And in America, people treat you like they have entitlement. And I had a problem with that. So I had to learn along the way. And in learning, I ended up being married to my ex-husband, who looked at me one day and said, "You book smart, but you stupid, and you wouldn't know somebody rob you until the wind hit your naked behind."
Oh my goodness, that was not a nice thing to hear. You said your ex-husband, so you are divorced? Did you guys have children?
Yes, yes, we have two daughters, and it's amazing. Someone who said that to you turned around years later and kidnapped both of the children from me. He was extremely jealous and abusive, and his thing was, if he cannot have me, nobody will. I came home from work one day. I was working as the assistant manager at a company called Woolworth. Woolworth not around anymore. Lord Jesus, I'm going far back. Woo! And right there, he kidnapped the children from me, and right there I started looking at life from a whole different perspective in America, because he did to me exactly what he said others would do to me. You're so intelligent, but you would not know that people are stealing from you until the draft hit you. And when he stole my kids for 21 years, the draft hit me.
I can imagine how that must make you feel, having children, having them taken away from you. And you mentioned earlier that you grew up in a family of 13 and nobody was taken away from anyone.
Nope, we hung together.
I need to ask you though.
Go ahead.
So you grew up in Antigua, 13 siblings, parents, Christian home. You came here to be a doctor. You didn't become a doctor. You got married, you had children, and someone takes your kids away.
Mm-hmm.
You said he was abusive also. So now that he's gone, kids and all of that, what did this do to you? Do you think at this point, are you stronger? Are you weaker? Did you take a lot of, was it easy? Was it surprising? Or was it very stressful during all of that?
That was my first experience with true stress, as Americans qualify stress. Stress in America is take Valiums to sleep, take this, take that, take that. And I ended up being one of those people who, I went into a depressed state. I didn't want to wake up. I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to bathe, pull the curtains. I found out later it was stress, because back home, I don't know anything about stress. And I went to a doctor, and the doctor gave me pills to wake up, pills to make me sleep, pills to make me eat. So much pills, I threw the pills in the corner. Then one day I decided, let me try those pills. Maybe they will help me. But it was in that time that I went back to my roots and remember how my mother used to pray so much, and how she used to take us to Sunday school, and I started calling out to God. And in calling out to God, I believe that's what helped me through. I had one girlfriend, her name is Denise Black. Denise would come over and drag me out the bed and just throw me in the shower and turn on the water on that long, thick hair of mine. But it felt good, and she would do that to me to help to pull me out of the depression. How did I make it out of depression? Oh my God. You're talking over 70 years of dealing with a lot of dumb stuff in America. One day, it's like a voice said to me, if you find your children, what do you have to offer them laying here? Woo! My God, I never thought about that. What do you have to offer them laying here? And that's when, I think that's what woke up the determination in me that I used to have when I got on the plane to come here.
So here you are, reaching back to your roots, your Christian roots, waking up out of the delirium that you were in.
Yes, Lord.
Throwing away the pills, having had too many showers, now you're cold, but outside might be hot. So you are ready. What did you do then?
Then one day I got up and I was walking, and I found myself in a church. I think the church was on Lehigh Avenue. Now I look back in retrospect. I found myself back in a church, and I was in the church just praying and crying and crying and crying, because where I was at that time in life and who I knew myself to be, somehow the only way I could get out of that place was call out to God. And when I was finished praying in that church, I don't know how long I was in there, I made a decision. I came to America for a purpose. The purpose was to become a doctor. And for me to get back my children, I have to get up off my behind and make something of myself. So I went back to community college and got my associate's degree in early childhood education, and ended up opening a daycare.
My doctor went into daycare.
Well, that's another story because I worked as a CNA for a bit. For about 3 years, I worked at a CNA. I worked as a CNA for a bit, and one day I went to this office on Chestnut Street. I had to ask people because in prayer, it's like the voice said to me, "Go to this building tomorrow." And I called people and asked them where the building was, and I went to the building and got hired to work at the hospital of the University of Pennsylvania as a certified nursing assistant the first time I tried to get in. And I was on my way to being a nurse. So between the CNA work, going back to community college, getting the job at HOP, I was on my way to get my piece of American pie. It was a lot. But I got pregnant at HOP. And it was a high risk pregnancy. That's my son, my last child. And they fired me. So that's how I ended up being a childcare provider. I was still in the helping service, but I was not in the hospital. So I opened a daycare. And the beat goes on from there.
Did you like being a daycare provider?
In the beginning, yes. Because to me, I did not become the doctor because America system was that was a whole culture shock for me, where people wasn't willing to help people and all this. They wouldn't accept my transcripts from home, just a whole lot of stuff. So helping parents to get their piece of the pie, even though I experienced so many hindrances in my life, it made me happy that I could teach someone. To me, I was molding a child to become a nation within the American system of things, so they will get their full slice of the pie, even though I didn't get it.
So they could be the doctors.
So they could be the doctors, and they could be the whatever they were going to be.
Thank you.
So even though I didn't make it, I had an avenue where I could mold young minds to be it. And that's why I love, and I ended up just falling in love with what I did.
And it was fulfilling.
Oh, yeah. Financially, psychologically, emotionally. Financially, the CCIS paid us. Emotionally, it gave me balance. Psychologically, I was raising my kids, my kidnapped children. I was taking care of them in the daycare that I hope another woman out there would take care of my kids. So to me, I was sowing seed forward. But it was during that process I knew that I was called to the ministry.
And what did you do?
I started going back to church like I used to. Like I grew up with my mother. I started going back to church, and I accepted Christ into my life. And it's through that process with doing missionary work, evangelism work, I became a minister, and now I am a pastor of my own church. And it was a process. It was a process.
And you believe that you are where you are as a pastor now, having had a daycare, even though you did not be the doctor, but you believe as if you are living your own dream, even if it's a new one?
That's an interesting question you asked me, because you just allow me to look at it from a whole different perspective that I hadn't contemplated before. I did not become the doctor, but as a pastor, I'm now a doctor. I'm not now a lawyer, because anything that the congregants say to me in confidence have to be held against them I have to remain secretive unto me and take it to my grave. Whereas as a doctor, certain things the patient will say to the doctor cannot reveal it to any and everybody. So I became God's doctor.
I've never heard it like that before. but it sounds good.
Thank you. It's been a journey. It's been a long time. America has been bad to me and good to me.